Hey, how's it going guys? Captain Cuba here and welcome to another God of War video. Today, I thought we could take a break from discussing big story topics such as, is Thor alive? What's the purpose of the mask? Or even what happened to Garm's soul? And instead, focus on a very small detail that I haven't seen anyone talk about yet. And that is, Atreus' marvels.
That's what she said!
For as many topics as God of War Ragnarök has introduced, I haven't seen anyone discuss anything about the giant marvels Angrboda gives to Atreus. Which is odd, because the topic of the marvels isn't just confined to the story of God of War Ragnarök. In fact, they were introduced in this game to give Atreus a mission for a future game in the series.
A while back, you talked about how the giants left. You ever think about them?
All the time. They're far from here. Far from Odin and Thor. But I wonder what lands they've gone to, what seas they've crossed. Why?
I want to find them. I'm gonna save my father and then I'll find them.
With this topic itself, maybe I could make a future video giving my opinion on what I think this story could look like. But that's not what I want to talk about today. Instead, I want to talk about this specific marvel. Because let me tell you something, this marvel shouldn't even exist. But before we put our tinfoil hats on, I wanted to ask a favor. If you end up liking this video, would you kindly hit that like button and maybe even consider subscribing? To you, it may not seem like a big deal, but this is honestly the best way to help your favorite content creators get a spot in the algorithm. So if you end up liking or subscribing, thank you in advance. Anyway, why do I say this marvel shouldn't even exist? As Angrboda explains in the game, the marvels contain the souls of all the surviving giants. These survivors were the only giants who were able to escape Thor's wrath many years ago. Now, thanks to Angrboda, we learned that the giants didn't continue to live in peace like we all originally thought. They might have done this for a while, but eventually the fear of Odin somehow finding a way into Jotunheim was too much for them to bear. So they ordered Angrboda's father to whisper their souls into these marbles in order to escape from Odin. They also instructed Angrboda to give the marbles to a giant named Loki, as he would one day know what to do with them. Now, out of all of the marvels Atreus picks up, why do I say that only this one shouldn't exist? Let's listen to who Atreus says it belongs to.
Theatsi.
If this name sounds familiar, it's because Mimir talks about Theatsi in God of War 2018. Let's have a listen.
She was called Skadi, Queen of the Hunt. Odin himself wanted her for his bride, believing she would bear him strong sons. But she spurned his affections, and for that insult, Odin vowed revenge. It was put forth that the Aesir were plagued by an eagle who would steal the precious golden apples of Idun. Not even the finest archer among the gods could bring it down. Odin knew that Skadi could not resist the temptation to prove herself superior, and so she joined the hunt. Skadi tracked the eagle as it flew where she alone could glide, and loosed an arrow from her unerring bow. When she collected her quarry, she found no eagle at all, but her own father, poor Theatsi, slain by his own daughter.
So according to Mimir, Odin was enraged when Skadi turned him down. So being the petty god that he is, he tricked Skadi into killing her own father, Theatsi. But this poses a problem for us, because the story of Theatsi's death has to take place long before the giants escaped to Jotunheim. And according to Angrboda, the giants decided to hide their souls in the marvels after they had escaped to Jotunheim, meaning that Theatsi's soul can't be in this marvel. Instead, his soul should have gone to the land of Alfheim with Faye and all the other giants who died before they could escape Midgard. Now, I know what you're thinking. Clearly the game shows us some marvels that don't contain the souls of giants they belong to. A good example being Faye's and Surtur's marvel. So maybe the giants made a marvel for Theatsi, but he died before they could put his soul in it. Well, this is actually not the case, because all the empty marvels look different to those that contain the souls of giants. Empty marvels, as you would expect, do not glow with magic, while the ones containing souls do. This means that there's 100% a soul inside Theatsi's marvel. Now, before we go any further, I have to talk about another common objection that's usually brought up when theorizing about small details that don't necessarily matter to the story of the game. And that objection is it possible that Santa Monica simply made a mistake? Because look, Santa Monica is obviously one of the most recognized developers in the world at the moment, but they are still human. And small mistakes like these have been made in the past, so maybe the same thing happened here. But the thing is, if this was a mistake, it could have been so easily avoided. Because there's a huge list of giant names they could have chosen from that wouldn't raise any questions from observant fans such as myself. But out of all of these names, for some reason they chose Theatsi. This is why I'm inclined to put on my tinfoil hat and say that this was done on purpose. But why? What is Santa Monica trying to tell us here? Well, as you guys know, there will most likely be an Atreus spin-off game that sees him traveling the world in search of the surviving giants. But at the moment, Atreus is still relatively young, and even though he was trained by arguably one of the best, if not the best warrior in the God of War universe, he still has a lot to learn. Especially when it comes to learning about his giant lineage and the powers that come with it. These would include seeing the future, communicating with animals as well as creatures, and of course, everybody's favorite, shapeshifting. Now, throughout the story of God of War Ragnarok, we first see Atreus struggle to control this new power. He first turns into a bear out of anger, he then turns into a wolf when he learns his father was prophesied to die, and when Kratos and the gang question him for wanting to go to Odin, this happened.
Listen.
Let go of me!
Listen!
I said let go!
What the fuck?
Atreus! It's Sindri. Just try to keep control!
Now, by the end of the game, Atreus is able to control his new shape-shifting powers a lot better. But like I said before, he still has room to grow. And sadly, this is a type of training that Kratos cannot help him with. And because he can't turn to his mother for obvious reasons, he has to turn to another giant who might be able to help him. And what do you know? Theatsi just so happens to be one of the greatest giants to ever wield the power of shape-shifting.
Her father was Theatsi, who could take the shape of any wild creature, and taught Skadi how to hunt them all.
Now, we know this current formula for the God of War games is bringing in a lot of money for Sony, so I doubt very much that they'll want to change it drastically for the next game. So most likely, the future Atreus spin-off will also include a companion AI character. And because Kratos will be busy ruling over the Norse pantheon, Atreus will need a new companion. And who's better to tag along than Theatsi? Well, maybe Angrboda will take that role, but I just fear that type of story will look too similar to a rom-com. And look, I'm not even saying that it's likely that Theatsi will be the new companion. Maybe he will just be a side character who also teaches Atreus the way of the giants. But all I'm saying with this video is that if Santa Monica wanted, they have the option to pull out Theatsi basically out of nowhere without it being cheap. Because they could always point to this Marvel and say they planned it all along. Now, there was another direction I could have gone with this theory. I could have said that just because there's a soul inside Theatsi's Marvel, it doesn't necessarily mean it's Theatsi's. After all, Odin's soul was inside Faye's Marvel momentarily. So maybe someone else is hiding inside Theatsi's Marvel. And just like the evils of the Great War, they are patiently waiting to be released. This theory was appealing at first, but the temptation to say the Demiurge was hiding inside the Marvel was too great. And I promise you guys I was gonna stop with that theory. So I'll let you guys decide which theory you like the most. Was it a mistake on Santa Monica's part? Maybe Theatsi's soul really is inside the Marvel? Or who knows, maybe it's someone else entirely. Whatever your thoughts and theories are, make sure to leave them in the comment section below. Now as always, I want to give a big thanks to all of my members for supporting the channel monthly. People like Hitman himself, A Senpai, Dylan Reed, Ben Black, and Ashim Vich, to name a few, are essentially the green orbs of the channel. Not just because their money is green, but because they keep the channel alive. See what I did there? I would also like to thank everyone who likes and shares my videos. I know it doesn't seem like much, but guys, trust me, it really does help. And with that said, thanks for watching, and remember, go forth in the name of All Father Kratos.